Welcome back to Creative Perspectives. I'm Brandy, a transitional life coach, and today's topic is going to be about See Me Now. It was inspired pretty much by a sermon that I heard this past weekend from Pastor T.D. Jakes in regards to his messaging that got my brain thinking about the social disconnect that we have, not just probably globally. Technology has really had its benefits, but it's at disadvantages as far as how we connect with one another and how authentic the connections are. So, See Me Now, although it sounds like a little revenge plot, is not about revenge, okay? So, I don't want you over there like, psh, psh. See me now. Where was you last week when I told you this? But you see me now, right? We don't want you like that, right? So anyway, my first subtopic for this show is going to be about suicide. Okay. We never really genuinely see the person until they are post-mortem in a grave somewhere. And the most devastating thing to hear when someone takes their own life is that we didn't know, we didn't see it coming. We didn't see them, okay? Because it's like they don't see you coming, which means they don't acknowledge the things that are happening in your life. They only acknowledge the things happening in their lives. So because of the self-centered and self-serving nature of the situations, they were not able to see you. Okay, so when somebody takes their own life, it pretty much magnifies the problems. Okay, now mental health issues can contribute to suicide. As we know, veterans, I'm a combat veteran myself, whoop, whoop. And I could tell you something. It makes a big difference when you have a support team. And when you could call people up, let them know some of your experiences. And, it's like with any situation, we all have our own issues in life, or just something we might go through periodically where you just need a listening ear, and that's it. But when the saddest thing I've ever heard, or that I hear when someone does commit suicide, is they didn't know. They didn't see it. They didn't even understand. And to me, it means that there's a lack of paying attention, a lack of detail, far as listening in on someone else's or recognizing the grievances that may be plaguing someone else's life. We live in a society where they don't see it coming. But then after the fact, see me now. Okay, so now I think you're starting to grasp the topic and why I chose it. They didn't see you coming, but they see you now. So post-mortem, now they see you. Now you get your recognition that if people were having better connections with one another, they could have seen the signs earlier. That's the greatest mistake. Another one is like if we look at school shootings. Obviously, everybody wants to try to make it seem like it's a mental health problem, but sometimes it's just a connection problem, and it's just a issue regarding how people are connecting to each other. And we need to start acknowledging the fact that we need to do better. Do better as a society, as a community, as a family, friendships, situationships, whatever it may be. A lot of time we are our society tends to be more dismissive of other people's issues because we get so overwhelmed in our own issues. So we are not capable of seeing past the mirror, which is our own selves. So when we look at school shootings, there was a news report that was done on a student who said that he was attending a school for so long and he just went unnoticed, made no friends, and it was disheartening because it's like we're actually in a society where technology is just such a big deal to where we can't just put it aside to be able to connect properly with people, to be able to see them and to help them and to nurture them and to love up on them and to embrace them with all their differences. If I'm a big fan, like I'm a heterosexual, but I believe you don't mistreat somebody who might be a homosexual. And I don't know the new term, so please don't try to murder me. What's the new terms? I don't know. I don't keep up with it. Naughty Brandy. I'll go spank myself later. but the whole thing is, I don't keep up on everything, but I don't stop loving on an individual because their sexual preference might be a little different than mine. The way I look at people is they are all different. They're all designed here for a purpose and a reason, and it's their job to try to figure it out. And that's why I'm not about overreaching. Okay, so even with that situation, see me now. You get what I'm saying? Like I've had the pleasure of listening in on some stories, in regards to some people who, changed from their heterosexual nature to being, either a lesbian, bisexual, or, oh Lord, God bless my brain, homosexual. And I think there's different words, so don't kill me, but listening in on their stories, the compassion that I learned to have, and I've always been a compassionate person, very empathic, but to listen in on what they've gone through in their lifestyles, the rejection, if we're looking from a human experience, it's one of those things where they don't see you coming. But then when something major happens, they see you now, and sometimes time can pass by, and people could be in the grave, crying and going through all of the emotional turmoil by allowing themselves to not connect with individuals, all because they were in their own way the entire time. So what I'm trying to help you see today and possibly be able to do is possibly be able to take a break from life and understand people need you as an individual. They need your input. They need your light, and I believe we go through so much sometimes in our own lives, like you have bills, you have kid stuff going on, you have business issues, you have work issues, and I just think if we could just take a break, a moment to try to connect with each other instead of talking about each other. Like I get to hear a whole bunch of stories about work, oh, this person did this and this and this and this at work. And my main thing that I like to ask people is, did you actually sit down and talk to them? Because everybody has a story and everybody has something that they are going to go through, that they've gone through. And it could be minor or small, because we all deal with our issues differently. Some people, like what might be a major issue to me may be a minor issue to someone else. That's why I'm not big on holding people to unrealistic expectations. Like, well, let me test this out. I don't do tests. I'm just like, let me just ask and be very direct. And whatever the situation is, I'll know then. I don't do, I don't beat around the bush. And I think that's where people go wrong, is they try to beat around the bush. Well, let me play this game and see if, my response is going to, if I can get this type of response or that type of response. And it's like, forget the responses. Just be straight up, ask, talk, disclose, withhold what you need to withhold to get the information straight out. It's called, to some degree is maturity. But, when we're connecting with other people, we have to just be able to definitely look at them, like see them now. Some people use work, their position of power to torture other people because they're really going through their own issues behind closed doors, or they feel entitled in some way to have a certain position or persona. in the workplace to be seen and to be heard, when all you have to do is just remember everybody's a human being and treat everybody accordingly with respect, dignity, and you will see your team just come on board and kick some ass. so I'm a big fan of, let's work as a team. That's the best thing I learned in the military, and it was one of the hardest things for me to adjust to when I first entered through basic training. I was a nightmare soldier because it's my way. I'm the only girl in my family. I can't, and I was doted over by my parents, so it's like it's easy for you to think, oh, it's my way. But they broke that stuff out of me real quick. And now it's about there's no I in team, and pay attention to detail. That was the main issue that I had in the, when I entered into basic training. So thank God. But that experience alone, it was very humbling, because it does allow you to be able to connect with others. And also another thing is, like, say if you don't get along with the person, then the military will purposefully put you and that person together. So it was me. I was younger, and then I forgot her name. But they paired us together. We did not get along at all. It's like putting oil and vinegar together, and we're just waiting on the time to go slash each other's necks. But anyway, one night I just we could not get along, so we were obviously getting in trouble, and she had to go to the bathroom, so I refused to go. So I was like, okay, you want to play these games? I'm not getting up going, because you need a battle buddy to go. So, but anyway, we stayed that night, and I just asked her what's really going on with her, and she was dark-skinned, and I'm light-skinned, so that was the issue. But we talked about it, and I asked her, well, why is there a problem with the way I look in comparison to the way you look? You're beautiful in my eyes, So her response to me was, she was raised with those poisonous words that made her hate her own skin. And I'm like, whoever put that inside your head, they obviously had their issue with you and the way you looked, but it has no bearing on what you actually look like. That's just their poison that they're trying to put on you, as if they're like level 10s. And I was like, we're all, if you look around this world, we're so different, and it works, So I just told her, you have to believe in yourself. So I told her, every day I want you to go into the mirror, and I want you to tell yourself and just look at yourself and say, I'm beautiful. I'm chocolate, and I am beautiful, and I am fabulous. And it changed our whole dynamics of our relationship. We can't, God made us the way we're supposed to be, the way He thought we were supposed to be. And unfortunately, you have people who don't see and who don't want to see others. But then when they start shining, then they see you now, So she became a captain in the United States Army, and I might even look her up and reach out to her, because I remember that in basic training. And I don't know how far she went in her career, because we did basic training, and then I believe we got separated through AIT, and she went to a different camp. But it's just one of those things where if we're not speaking and we're not connecting with one another, we have all these thoughts and opinions and ideas in our heads that are not real because you are not talking to the other person. You're not connecting. You're just making up everything in your own brain about someone else without even getting to know them. So it's like, get to know them, ask questions, don't just sit up there and talk and gossip and just, well, she's this and she's that, but you have no idea who the person really genuinely is. In order to connect, let's start talking. Let's start learning about each other. Let's start addressing our insecurities with others. I remember I worked at a television station when we had our shutdown party for out of Seattle. I told a guy, I was like, when I used to do your shows, I used to be really intimidated by your presence because his shows were so intense, and I was just really nervous going into the booth, on his shows, but he was just being very creative and he wanted perfection, and and that was just his way, his style of directing or producing. So, but come to find out, he was a sweet person, but in my eyes, I was like, your shows are very intense, bruh. So, not bruh, but I'm trying to be cute and funny at the same time. But we want to connect, when we're talking about, suicide, people don't see a person until after they take their lives, but they did see them. They just didn't acknowledge what they saw, so it's more disheartening to see someone very close, like a parent or a caregiver, say they don't know. It's like, well, what were you doing this whole entire time in their life? Just like living in la la land, so you don't want to be that disconnected from your own children, your own family members, to where you don't see what's happening inside of their lives, to where you can't hold any form of accountability or responsibility when something happens. That's terrible. Okay, we're off of suicide. Now we're going to move it along because I know I'm long-winded, so we're going to try to keep it short. It's the same thing in team-oriented environments. Like if somebody owns a business and then they have favoritism, there's a problem with favoritism, because favoritism and production and progress are completely different. So you could have your team of your favorites, but then be missing out on an extremely good employee that can bring a lot of production and progress to the table. Okay, and it's all because of the bias or the prejudice, prejudicial factor, that could be sitting in people individually. We can't pick and choose, who we want on our team, because you could be missing out on some really great blessings. I remember there was a black billionaire. He graduated, I think, from one of these prestigious schools, Stanford, Harvard, I forgot. But it was around the time that Oprah Winfrey opened up the African American Museum with the help of a whole bunch of collectors and that project. So when she did that, he was a tech, I believe he was in the tech industry, and he just boomed. He developed some type of software program, and the same companies who wouldn't accept him because of his color ended up like knocking on his doorstep because they saw exactly how successful he became. So that's an example of we want to stop making all of these assumptions and start connecting with people the right way that can bring miracles or breakthroughs to any situation. You can have somebody on your team that's super quiet. I remember I met this genius, I got his number too, on, when I went on my cruise solo. And it's like, God, I just wanted to marry the man's brain. It's like, I love brainiacs, but he's still going through his phase in school. So you have to let that process go, because that's the life path that person needs to continue in order to be successful. But it's like listening to all the bioengineering, and he's just really smart to where nobody can help him with his, mathematical and scientific stuff, because he said the higher you get up, the less people know. So it's like you're on your own. So I told him, go ahead, study, give him some time to study. But it's just, you want to embrace difference. You want to peel back the layers in a team environment or one-on-one, to see how can you bring the team together. It's the same thing in healthcare industry. You have some people who don't do their jobs, if they're nurses, aides, or nurses or whatever, and you have some people who do. And I just think if people come in there with an unbiased mindset, we're here to do a job. We're here to do a job on behalf of the people that we're here. And that's why you got to when you get employed, make sure something that you have some type of compassion and that you're passionate about. Don't do it for the money, because it'll show real quick, because as soon as they want you to do something, now you're going left. But we want you to see each other, start connecting with each other, find out why that person's a jerk. Like, I remember I used to tell people, man, you are a fucking jerk. Like, you're an asshole. Why are you an asshole? And then I have to sit there and listen to an earful of something that I wasn't planning to listen to. But hey, I asked and I got my answer. And but it helps you to unlock and help also those who are really tight, because they haven't had the emotional support or the emotional connection or the emotional development that was needed in order for them to be able to connect properly on the emotional level. So it's harder for them to do it. So you got to play. Sometimes, look, if you have a boss that is a complete asshole or jerk, you better understand that they're human underneath it all. And something fun can really relax that inside of them. Just some people are holding on to anger, bitterness, and nobody said hello to them all day. Just say hello and walk away. Put your head in the air to your boss, okay? Because make them see you, and they'll start coming down. Just some people are really going through some stuff. They're stressed. We're living in a society where everything's going up. Inflation is extremely crazy. People are struggling. People are nervous. People have a lot going on inside their brains, but we must stop down and see each other, so we don't have the suicide, so we don't have the mood swings in work environments or business environments or family environments, relationships, all of that. So anyway, okay, so I went over wealth and money, which is pretty much when I gave you the billionaire story. We don't want to reject people before we know them. We want to embrace them and get to know them and understand where they're coming from, so you could learn how intelligent people are in that manner. So then you won't send off a billionaire and then months later, years later, after they invent something crazy, then you're like, oh, fudge. Well, the guy we did chose, he earned us like $1 million, but then the guy we rejected, he earned billions of dollars. We should stay with that dude, so don't allow color or height or weight or pretty or who you deem as pretty, because remember, everybody's pretty, honey, in the sight of God and in our own eyes too. It's just that we have to stand and get out of our own way. All right, in romance, you might have a partner where you're like, they're telling you what their needs and their wants are, but you're over here asking friends, family, and everybody else but the person you're with about your relationship or your romantic partner, and it's just causing more harm than good. So when they leave you, then that might be an issue for you, where you didn't see them when you were in the relationship, but once they walked away, then you start seeing them. And sometimes it takes for people to get into other relationships in order to actually see their partners. So you want to make sure, pay attention to the person you love. That's the person you're sleeping with every night. You're not sleeping with your friend, your mama, your daddy, your brothers, your sisters, and all that, because that stuff is... But so you want to make sure that in a romance sense, you talk to your partner. Your partner is the only one that can tell you how they feel, why they feel the way they feel, how they feel wronged or harmed or something like that. And then come with a team mindset. Come with, let's fix it. That type of mindset, instead of, well, it's not my way, then I don't care, or you did this or you did that, because that just creates a divide. It widens the gap in the division that's going to continue to happen in that situation. So it's better to be like, look, I love this person. That person's on my nerves, but we got into this thing to connect, to join in hands, and to make it work, and we are going to work this thing out. I fell out of love with you, but we're going to go take that vacation, honey. Go get your thong, go get your special underwear, or whatever you need to tell the person to go get that reconnection, and meet your partner where they are. Sometimes you can have a partner who's depressed, and it might be your turn to to go and get them out of that depression. That's one thing I've learned when I see like Facebook and stuff like that. People are like, how can you have a partner when a partner does X, Y, and Z? Well, the bottom line is if you pick a partner, understand everything's not going to be roses. And, roses are red, violets are blue. Kissy, 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 kiss face, kiss face, kiss face. You have to understand people are human. So they may have their ups and downs, and you have to be able to serve them on both capacities. And it's not just your way. Okay, so we're off of romance now because you want to see them before they leave. Because once they leave, they get themselves together, the parts you ignored, then guess what happens? Now you're going to be over there with somebody new looking at the past. Like, she or he looks magically delicious. Lord, I should have stayed with that, And then you're living a life full of regrets because you self-sabotaged by not paying attention and not seeing them. Now you see them. You were seeing your family, you were seeing your friends, you were seeing everybody else's way except for the person that you claim to love. And then they walked off on you. And now, bam. Now they looking like a hot bag of Cheetos and roses and woo. You're like, All right, that's romance. Now, health and wellness. We want to make sure we're checking on the people we love because guess what? Everybody doesn't let you know what's happening to their health, So when you have that type of issue, you have to be careful. I remember I had a family member, I never say names, but when my father passed away, person fell out, all dramatic and stuff. And it's like because of the disrespect that was there prior to the person perishing. And they had plenty of time to fix it. But because of the pride, the ego issues, and just selfishness, and pleasing other people that had nothing to do with whatever conflict that was going on in order to keep the facade, it destroyed that opportunity to be able to make things right before that person perished, before my father perished. So when we're talking about health and wellness, not everybody tells you how their health is doing. So that's why we got to do buddy checks, even in families. In the military, we call them buddy checks. Every once in a while, we get on that Facebook, LinkedIn, and all that. People are married, so you got to respect that because, they could be taken the wrong way. When it's not the wrong way, you're not trying to do anything. But still, you have to do that buddy check every once in a while and just check on people. See how they're doing health and wellness checks, especially if they've been good to you in life. Don't let life become so busy to where you stop seeing them, That's why I call it see me now, because by the time you do see them, they're being lowered 6 feet under. So you want to see them before they get to that stage, and you don't want to have any regrets. So check on your loved ones, connect with them. Even if it's 5 minutes, put it in your calendar. Oh, I only got 10 minutes a week to talk, so I'm just going to call and leave voice messages. Hey, I'm busy, but, I was thinking about you today. I'm letting you know I'm thinking about you. You were on my mind, and let it go. Okay, that's how simple that can be, because that person, when they check it, they're like, oh, that's my cousin Leticia. Oh, I know they busy, but, they checked on me, okay? We want to be careful of our selfish behaviors, because when we talked about the suicide and people walking in the school, shooting them up. And then nobody knows how they got that way, when they got that way, and all that. It's because nobody was paying attention. Nobody was paying attention. And then after something major happened, see me now. That came into place. Now we could see you. Now we could see the pain. Now we could see the suffering, and we could see that you allowed your suffering to hurt everybody else around you, which is not acceptable by no means. But we want to see people so they can feel some type of connection, some type of togetherness. It does not mean you have to stay with them, but it means that they are being seen somehow, some way. How can you work with people and not see them? We don't want people to be isolated, okay? And be careful with people with disabilities. You see somebody in a wheelchair or crutches, whatever, say hi, strike up a conversation. Even disabled people who are born that way, they still can think. They still have some capacity to want to connect, okay? So just be kind and nice with that, okay? Let's see, socially, okay? We don't want to criticize people to such a degree to where we don't see them, okay? Because we're too busy judging them, okay? If you're judging, you can't see, because it's not your way, it's their way. It's their walk of life. It's not your way to walk. It really genuinely is their life. So we want to be able to see them. See me now, okay? We want to see them. We don't want our criticisms to overshadow our ability to be able to hear clearly about someone else's wants and needs, desires, and we don't want to cause harm to that walk, because you will get that back to you. We don't want to compare ourselves to each other, because all that does is causes division for no reason. Okay. I am done. And when it comes to parenting, we certainly don't want to pick favorite children. Even if you got your favorite children, you want to treat all your children uniquely and uniquely. You know, even if you're a single parent and, you know, one child comes looking like you and the other one comes looking at your ex, you don't want to start hurting the child that looks like the ex, okay? Or saying, you act like this, or you do this and you do that. No, don't do that, because you're sabotaging yourself, because that kid that you are causing distance and disconnecting yourself from or treating differently can become the next president of the United States and reject you. Or you might be sitting in a nursing home by yourself wondering why none of your children show up, because also the kid that you favored sees the activity of your ways. They see you mistreating the other kid, and they might like their brother or their sister and love them. And when they get older, they may not want to deal with you. So you want to be careful. No favoritism. Treat everybody the same. Love up on both of your children. They came out your vagina or your stomach, however God got them here. They're here. And you laid down and you made the choice. And whether it was a mistake or not, it's your responsibility. The babies are both your responsibility, not one over the other. So treat them with the dignity and respect, and you'll be surprised that when you show love to both of them, wait and see what they become. You might have somebody that becomes the millionaire that will sit you up and, you know, set your life up. I said sit your life up. Set your life up in such a capacity to where you could never ever have dreamed of it being that way. But if you bring poison from your mouth to either child, just be prepared for the consequences when they grow up and they don't want to deal with you, and then you start falling apart. Because I know, even at the age of 42, I ran every day on my legs when I could, and now things are changing for me young. So you know, I'm all about, you know, making sure I treat people with love, care, respect, period. And it's not just for myself, it's just for the fact that you got to be able to see people. Okay. All right. I believe I am done. We want to heal people. We want to connect with people, and we want them to see us, and we want to see them. Okay. And we want everybody to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically balanced. Okay. God bless you. I hope once I get finished and I start editing, I'll be able to see how these lights actually look, because sometimes it's deceptive on camera. Okay, because I'm like, oh, it was green. I don't have a professional camera. It's like $4,000 or $5,000, and you know, I have a house, so sometimes you got to put the money towards your house when something breaks down. So, God bless you. God smile upon you. Just remember everything, you know, treat people well, reach out to people, even if you are at a grocery store or somewhere. Hello, how are you doing? How's your day so far? If they stick their nose up, don't turn the other way and be like, hey, because that's what you probably want to say, but don't do it. Just say, oh, I'll pray for you, honey. And then keep going on and keep being the way you are, because remember, some people are going through things, and their response is their response, your response is your response. So we want to connect and keep it positive and lighten this world up, honey. Oh, one more thing. War. There was a comment that I saw far as the Ukraine war that's going on right now with Russia, and they were talking about how the people and the kids are traumatized, so the PTSD that goes through those type of situations, war-like situations for people who have to experience that type of trauma. So I wanted to respond, but I'm not really big on responding. But someone put, "I'm so glad it's not us or me," or "I'm so glad that's not over here," or something, completely selfish driven. Now, when I see also other things that they have gone through, it's like, remember, what you put out, you get back. So it's like things unfold the way you respond, even to other people. Everything really does show back up on your doorstep. And some people call it sin, some people call it karma. Name it whatever you want to, but just understand what you put out, it comes back. Your thoughts, your mouth, and whatever you have sitting inside your heart, it does really come back to you. So that's why I'm like, Brandy, be nice. Did you want to slash her up? Let me go pray about that, Lord. Let me go work on that right now as I get on my knees and start praying about it. So we want to show compassion and connection even when there's trauma involved. So instead of saying, "I'm glad that's not me in Ukraine, keep that mess over there," blah blah, just remember there are people dying, there are children dying, and if you're that callous and crazy and ruthless and reckless with your stuff, then be careful, because somebody might not be there for you when you're going through something. Then you're going to be on Facebook and your social media networks complaining, saying the same thing. "But nobody was here for me when I did this, and nobody was there." And then you're over there in complete resentment. But you don't remember when somebody else is in need. You didn't talk about praying for them or helping them, or "I wish there was something more I could do," even if you're broke. You could just send good vibes, their way. But you're over there like capitalizing on the idea, "I'm so thankful that ain't me." Somebody lose the kid, "I'm so thankful that ain't my house, my kid's alive." And no. Realize people go through real stuff, and the world can change in a second. Things could change in a second. Just pray for them, connect with them, send good vibes. Say, I'm sad, I'm disheartened by that situation, but I'm going to be sending love and light, prayer. Whatever you say, whatever your belief structures are, send something beautiful their way. Okay? So, God bless you. Bye.